So if you pass away without having a full ironclad estate plan in place, you may be in trouble because those assets may not get to where you want them to go. They may be contested, and it's up to a judge. You're leaving it in the hands of the state to tell your assets how they're dictated after you're passed. So there are major differences between a will and a trust. When it comes to estate planning, you want to make sure that you understand how you're affected by each one of these. Now, a will, sometimes state to state, I know in our state, a will could be perfectly fine. It allows the court system and the judge to say, you have a plan for all of your assets, right? And it goes through the probate process, and the courts say, this will is in place so that your assets get passed on to the people that you love. You need to at least make sure you have that. Now, a trust goes a step further. It kind of makes your non-qualified assets, like your home and your cars and things like this that you would title into a trust, it makes those assets transferable easier upon your death. And so it goes to the court, the same process, except it bypasses what we call probate. So it says this asset goes directly to the person I have listed. It makes them beneficiary designated almost. And so you want to make sure, especially if you have a lot of non-qualified assets, if you have a lot of real estate, that you may want to look into a trust, because a trust is a good way to pass along assets that are not beneficiary designatable in and of themselves. So especially if you have a high net worth, if you have a net worth that is over the gift tax exemption or the lifetime exemption, you want to make sure that you have those assets to where they can transfer upon your death, one, with speed and with accuracy, but two, to make sure that your heirs aren't taxed too greatly. One way that you can do this is make sure you have enough insurance to cover those taxes. So if I know that I'm over the tax exemption amount, I need to have insurance that covers from that exemption amount and to the amount that my estate is worth, so that my heirs don't have to worry about the taxes when I pass them along. There are many strategies that we can implement as really very specific to the person and the individual, but the bottom line is you want to know, if you have a large estate, that your heirs aren't going to be burdened, one, by a probate system, or two, by a tax system that's going to try to take 40, 50, 60% of what you're trying to pass on. So make sure that you have an estate plan that's working for you and your family. We see a lot of clients that want to gift more than the annual gifting allowance. And so what we do is say, you do have a lifetime exemption. That lifetime exemption is upwards of $13 million per person. So you can gift a lot of money if you take a lifetime exemption year over year, where you do not have to worry about the gifting tax. So you want to make sure that you are staying within those bounds. And if you have more than that, there again, you can use vehicles like life insurance to cover the amount you would have over the gifting amount. But you want to make sure that you're passing along these gifts year over year without tax burden. One way we do it is, if you have a qualified account, you have what's called a required minimum distribution. A lot of times we use qualified charitable distributions to take those amounts and pass them directly onto the charity that you want to benefit. It's a way that you don't have to pay taxes on those RMDs out of your IRA and 401k funds, but it also gives it to that charity or the organization that you want to see yourself partnered with. And so QCD's, qualified charitable distributions, are a great way to give money that would help bypass that annual gifting exemption. Well, there are a few ways. We love when our clients love to be generous. We love that our clients want to be generous and give to charities and give outside of themselves, because a lot of times we've worked really hard to earn these dollars that we have, and we want to see the organizations, the charities that we love, benefit from them. Plus, it's a huge tax benefit and takes the tax burden off of us to do so. So if you have IRAs, 401ks, TSPs, tax deferred accounts, and you want to give to charities outside of that annual gifting exemption that you have, you can do what's called a qualified charitable distribution and send those funds directly from those tax deferred accounts to the charity. And it never comes into your name, so you do not have to take that tax hit that year, but it also goes tax-free to the organization that you have. And so that's one way that we do it. There are quite a few ways specific to individuals' circumstances that we would want to get you in and chat with you about, but knowing what QCDs are and understanding how to utilize that tax exemption is a really big deal for your estate plan. So the risk you take without having an estate plan when you pass away is huge. All of the assets that you have amassed, all of the wealth that you've created throughout your lifetime gets to be decided through a court system where that it goes. Usually that's next of kin, or if you have the next of heir, it will go to them legally. But what it does is it opens up a lot of opportunity for anyone to contest your probate process. So if you pass away without having a full ironclad estate plan in place, you may be in trouble because those assets may not get to where you want them to go. They may be contested, and it's up to a judge. You're leaving it in the hands of the state to tell your assets how they are dictated after you're passed. So you want to make sure that you do not die without a will, without a trust, without power of attorneys that actually put you in a position to where you get to dictate all of the money and all of the assets that I've accumulated in my lifetime. Here's how I want them to be used when I'm no longer here. If you don't, if you die intestate, if you die without a will, without a trust in place, you are putting yourself at a risk that those assets could go to places that you do not wish them to go. We put a lot of emphasis on estate planning. Estate planning is one of the 5 major components of any financial plan that we put together for our folks that come in and meet with us day in and day out. So you want to have an income plan to know how your money's going to last. You're going to want to have an investment strategy. You're going to want to have a healthcare plan. You're going to want to have an estate plan. An estate plan is a huge key here. You need to make sure that you have something in place, because if not, you're leaving your assets that you've amassed, your house, maybe your rental homes, maybe your IRAs or 401ks, or maybe it's your checking account. Anything that you've amassed and accumulated over your lifetime, you're leaving it up to the state to dictate where that goes. It opens you up to a lot of risk. If you do not have an estate plan that you feel is ironclad to where you feel like, if I pass today, I know my assets are going to the people I love without a doubt, you need to contact us.